What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to part 2 of the DFS OGs podcast right here on RotoGrinders.com, talking everything week 10. We'll wrap about the 5 games we have left. We may get a rant from Notorious, which we haven't seen yet, but he'll talk about the Todd Gurley price, and I'm in agreement. And, of course, we'll answer some user questions to wrap everything up. Let me bring in my fellow OGs. Welcome back, boys. Notorious, Head Chopper. Chop, how we doing, brother?
Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there.
Love to hear it. No, how we doing, buddy?
Yep, pretty much the same. Ready to knock out these 5 games, get to some questions.
Yeah, I mean, and we ended the last pod talking about Bills and Jets, so I'm glad to be moving on to some better games here, at least one team that's better, Derek. So we'll start with you. Chargers and Raiders. The Raiders, I mean, they're circling the drain. They're no incentive to win here. It's clear. So this looks like a hammer spot for the Chargers, who went in Seattle, looked very efficient, got the job done. Melvin Gordon looked good. Keenan Allen finally got a big game out of him. Is it all systems go here? Are we just stacking the Chargers and moving on? Derek.
Yeah, I mean, this does feel like the classic letdown spot coming off of that big win in Seattle, but I just don't think the Raiders are going to be competitive. I don't think they want to be competitive. So I do think the Chargers are going to roll in this one. Melvin Gordon looked really good coming off of the bye, over 100 yards rushing. And ever since they fired Mike McCoy, he's just been awesome. His efficiency has gone through the roof. So I think you could look at him if you do think the game's going to be a blowout. I mean, we saw the Niners just hammer the Raiders last week. If you think that's going to happen, then you can maybe look at Austin Eckler in tournaments. He's only $4,000. And then the passing game, I'm a little bit worried about that. They just build a big lead and sort of coast a little bit. But you can always play some of these guys. Keenan Allen has some positive touchdown progression just for Chop. And you can take a shot on Tyrell or Mike Williams as well.
All right, Chop. Chargers, Raiders. All Chargers for you. Any interest in the Oakland side here?
Oh, man. Oakland against a tough defense. I'm not really seeing anybody that would – I mean, you could take a shot on Jalen Richard. The price is even – that's even a little bit of a high price on DraftKings, but playing from behind, maybe a lot of catches for Richard, maybe Jared Cook. That's a pretty good price on him. That's not bad, but I don't think they get shut out, so somebody's going to get something at some point. Maybe those 2 guys are the guys, but I don't want any receivers or I don't want Derek Carr. But the Chargers are interesting because I know I read this on Twitter. I know you guys probably read it too, but they haven't passed the ball more than 30 times in a game since week 1. One time maybe since week 1. They've become the most run-heavy team in the NFL. Now you're playing Oakland, a double-digit favorite. Why would that break? You may catch a long play out of Tyrell Williams or Mike Williams or even Keenan Allen, but I don't think there's going to be enough volume there to load up on any of these pass catching options for this team this week. So yeah, it's all about Melvin Gordon and even taking a shot on Eckler, but Melvin Gordon deserves to be placed in that second tier of running backs. I mean, nobody's in Gurley's tier right now, but Gordon is as good as any of the other ones, Connor or any of those guys. So Melvin Gordon is a guy. I could definitely see a 3-touchdown. Melvin Gordon, that's what he does. He scores touchdowns, man. I could see a 3-touchdown game out of Melvin Gordon for sure.
I think he could be overlooked here. I mean, he's 9,000 on DraftKings. Gurley's only 9,400, so most people that have the money would just spend it on Gurley. Or you got Kamara, cheaper. Barkley is right there, a little bit cheaper. Hunt, who we talked about in part 1. James Conner is on the Thursday slate, so he doesn't count. But Chop, do you think he goes overlooked just because of pricing and kind of where he falls, or are people smart enough to say he belongs in this group, like you said, I'm going to spend that 9,000?
No, I don't know if he goes – I don't think he goes overlooked, but when you look at the price tags, he'll go under-owned. They'll want to play him, but then you have a choice of do you want to spend that money on him or Todd Gurley for 400 more? I mean, almost everybody would take Todd Gurley for only 400 more. So he'll go under-owned, even though we all know he's in a great matchup. So, yeah, that price tag, it's really interesting. It's really going to create some interesting dynamic in tournaments this week.
Yeah, and specifically on DraftKings. I mean, you look at FanDuel, Gurley's still up there at 10.8 where he belongs, and Gordon's 8,900. So there's a bigger discount there. I just think DraftKings, people want to roster Gurley because he's cheaper. That may make Melvin Gordon under-owned, like you said, on DK this week. All right, let's move on. Miami and Green Bay, Chop. Green Bay, big favorites at home here against Miami. I love the Green Bay D in this spot. We can talk Aaron Rodgers and Jones and Valdez, Scantling and all that, but the Packers D really stands out here at home against Brock Osweiler. They've been very good in home games, averaging 12 DK points a game. So wanted to throw them out there, but the rest of this game looks like a full-on Green Bay onslaught here against Miami. What do we do on the Miami side of things? Because Kenyon Drake, we want to make him work, Chop. It's not working. They're not giving the ball enough. Anybody on Miami viable here in this matchup?
Yeah, he's the only guy. Kenyon Drake's the only guy I'm even remotely interested in. With the return of Kenny Stills last week, now you got a crowded mess in a wide receiving core that wasn't even that strong to begin with. So, and then they're trying to get the ball from Brock Osweiler. That's never a good thing. So yeah, on the road, Green Bay, hostile environment, tough. Just the frozen tundra. I don't know if it's going to be frozen, but it's tundra. It's tough to play. It's not like turf out there in Miami where it's sunny and that good. That's a tough spot here for Miami's offense. So I'm with you. I like Green Bay's defense a lot more than Miami's offense. The only guy I would remotely think about is Drake, and I won't even have that much because that's a guessing game as to how many touches he's going to get. Green Bay looks very, very strong here. Is this the week they unleash Aaron Jones? I don't know, man.
So. I hope. He doubled up Jamal Williams on carries.
He did, but then once he fumbled the ball, it did cost him the game, I think. Yeah. It cost them the game. They had a real legit shot at hanging in that game and pulling the upset. And McCarthy was not happy with it. So I would not be surprised if an old school guy like that, delivers a message here and says, we're going to sit Aaron Jones and you don't fumble on my watch. You'll get benched. So I want to believe Aaron Jones is going to get the bulk of the carries and get unleashed, but we've got a archaic head coach who's I don't know if he's going to let him go like that. So I don't know, but any of these offensive weapons, if given a chance, can totally exploit Miami. If it's Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Valdez Scantling is a very solid sleeper this week. So I think they're all in play. Just got to figure out where you think the carries and the touches are going to go, whether they're going to give it to Jones or whether they're going to punish him for fumbling.
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything, but you're right. That would be a Mike McCarthy thing, is put our best player on the bench here in this game just to send a message. So interesting, but there's only 2 running backs there. So if we get some news, we can definitely target it. But the passing game too, Derek. Rodgers, Adams, Valdez, Scantling, like we talked about, there's a lot of ways you can go. So who are some of your favorites on the Green Bay side, and then any interest in the Dolphins side here in this one?
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I can't think of a time when Mike McCarthy punished a guy for losing a fumble.
That guy, man. I'm hoping he gets.
It's not like they traded Ty Montgomery or anything like that. But I'm going back to Jones. They just got to give him the ball. He's been by far the most productive running back. He's averaged over 5 yards per carry in every single game so far this season. He's seen 6 targets over the last 2 weeks, which is encouraging at the very least. And I do like playing them with the Packers defense. If they build a big lead, just got to think it's going to be a Jones and Packers defense type of game. If you want to target the passing game, you can certainly go to Adams. 7,800 is a really good price for a number 1 wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. And then MVS, with Geronimo Allison out, he's going to be their number 2. He outsnapped Cobb last week and ran 40 pass routes. So I think he's viable at 5K. And on the other side, I'm probably just going to be fading the Miami offense. Kenyon Drake apparently missed a blitz pickup, and that's why it led to Frank Gore's 20 rushing attempts last week. So I just don't want any part of this Miami offense.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It's tough to get too excited about any of these Dolphins. So let's move on. Our last game on the main slate should be a fun one, Derek. Seattle and the Rams. The Rams coming off that tough loss in New Orleans, but coming back home here against division rival Seattle. Do we just go back to our Rams here? They all put up some decent numbers. Todd Gurley, you mentioned it in part 1, so the floor is yours here. Somehow remains under 10K on DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't get the pricing, and especially since they raised everyone else's price. But I'll just keep playing him at this price point. I think with all the value out there, it's pretty easy to get him into your lineups once again. It's going to be super popular, but, he's had 30 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games, kind of ran a little bit bad last week. Still scored 20 fantasy points against the Saints. I know that the Seattle Seahawks have a good defense, but anytime the Rams are projected to score over 30 points, you got to think Gurley is a pretty good bet to score a touchdown. I think the prop for him to score a touchdown last week was minus 400 or something crazy like that. It's going to be similar this week. So just lock and load Gurley on DraftKings. If you want to fade him over on FanDuel, I certainly get it. Much easier to build a more balanced lineup with some of the other heavy volume running backs over there. For the receivers, you can play anyone from the Rams, really. I like Kupp in the slot. Woods and Cooks both have a pretty good upside as well. So it's a pretty concentrated offense. You always know, what you're going to get when it comes to the Rams. Then the Seahawks, they finally aired it out last week. They were playing from behind. Wilson only had 21, 23, and 17 pass attempts the previous 3 weeks, but he threw it 39 times last week. You got to think that that's going to be the case again this week. And he rushed the ball 5 times too, so that's promising. I like the price point. I like that they're going to be playing from behind. And speaking of that, do you guys listen to the the Epic podcast with Grant and Dean and Bobby?
I have not caught it this week.
Can't say I do.
I just love that anytime Grant's talking about a team that's playing from behind, he says they're coming from behind. He says it every time. I don't know if he does it on purpose or but it's hilarious.
It's a grand thing to do right there.
Oh, Grant cracks.
Yeah, so you can play you can play Russell Wilson for sure. I don't really think I want to pair him up with any receivers. Probably just take naked Russ and go from there.
So last matchup, Gurley, 3 touchdowns against the Seattle team. So they held him 22 for 77, but he found the end zone 3 times. So I think the debate is FanDuel Chop over there. What do you do with him? And then real quick, the Rams receivers. DraftKings are all kind of priced together, 67, 66, 64. Where on FanDuel, you get a nice discount on Cooper Kupp. He's 6,500 compared with 75 for Woods and 77 for Cook. So really site-specific here with a lot of the Rams. So address any of that you want, and then the rest of Seattle and L.A.
Yeah, I'm going to say that this game probably gets to blowout status sooner rather than later. Obviously Gurley, easy choice on DraftKings, like y'all said. And on FanDuel, that's where you got to make a decision. And, yeah, I mean, I think you can pull the trigger on him. I think we got enough value out there to make it happen. So, and you can use 3 running backs over there. You can put 1 in the flex. So that's perfectly fine. I'm about Gurley, so I think you can use him on both sides, but it's pretty easy. I think he's going to run all over this team. As far as choosing a receiver, man, it's a toss-up. It's you're throwing a dart at him. Somebody's going to have a good game, but I don't think 2 of the 3 have a particularly good game for you. In my opinion, I think it's a Robert Woods week. Cooks and Kupp had better weeks last week. I'm going to lean towards Robert Woods this week. Seattle is interesting. Backfield, you can totally write off now. It's not even a game where I think they even attempt that many rushes. So it's going to be put on the shoulders of Russell Wilson. I actually like what I saw out of Doug Baldwin in the second half of that game last week. Finally got involved a little bit, so maybe that carries over. They're going to need to catch up in this game. I'm going to turn to Doug Baldwin here.
Yeah, I don't hate that one. I mean, they're going to be throwing, like you said, so somebody's going to have to do some damage. So he's bouncing back. We'll see if he can continue rolling here. But that ends our discussion on the main slate. We still got Sunday Night Football here, Chop. Your Cowboys going to Philadelphia. Almost a must-win for your boys here. Took one on the chin there to Old Tennessee. But how do they respond going into a tough environment here in Philadelphia?
It's interesting in football. When you get these tight races like this, it feels hopeless. That the minute after you lose to Tennessee, it feels hopeless. But then you start thinking about it. Well, you know what? If you beat Philly, then you're back tied with Philly. Washington's got all these injuries. They're certainly not going to hold on for the division title, I don't think. It's doable. You can maybe still win it. It's not so helpless, but this is a must-win, I think. I think you're right. To get to that division title, they're going to have to beat Philadelphia here. They can't fall a couple of games behind Philly. So this is do or die. I think we see a better effort out of them. It's just you get a Philadelphia team coming off of a bye week, I believe, right? Or
Yep.
did they? Yeah. So I mean, that's tough, man. That's a tough task. But I don't know, man. It's obvious what Dallas needs to do, and I'm not going to do the rant. I'm not going to do the rant here, but it's just so obvious. Just fire the coaching staff, all of them. Just wipe them out from the head up. Jason Garrett, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, just wipe them all out, man. That's what needs to happen here because the talent is there. That defense has a lot of talent, and it's just not getting it done on a consistent basis. It gives up too many big plays. So the coaching is what's dragging these guys down. With that being said, they could still go in and beat Philadelphia. So if they're going to do it, they're going to have to do it behind Ezekiel Elliott. Now the matchup this week is Amari Cooper, a beat up secondary that was already struggling. But you got to get Elliott working first, then you can hit him with the play action. Now the interesting part here is that on a site like FanDuel, where you don't care about receptions, you just want a home run. You know, a 70-yard touchdown is your best friend over there, as opposed to 10 receptions. Over there, you could play a guy like Michael Gallup, who saw actually an uptick in snaps this week with Cooper there. And I could see if the play action works and you have Cooper on one side and Gallup on the other, there's no reason why Michael Gallup can't catch a home run here for a cheap price. So I think maybe one of these receivers has a pretty good game here against the beat-up secondary, but it's all going to come from Ezekiel Elliott, effective running and the play action. So, and on the flip side, Philly, all those guys are pretty much in play. It'd be interesting. I don't know if I could touch them. I want to see how things play out with Golden Tate in the lineup now. It's something we haven't seen yet. So I don't know. They all seem like they're going to do well. Maybe you could play Carson Wentz naked, man, even in tournaments, because he's got a lot of weapons. We just don't know how it's going to be dispersed.
Yeah, I'm agreed. I mean, you got Alshon, you got Tate. We'll see if it affects Aguilar, but I like the Gallup call. Anyone that's going cheap is going to go to Allen Hurns just because he scored last week. So on that showdown slate, Gallup gives you upside at probably a lot less ownership. Derek, Sunday night, Dallas and Philadelphia. What do you got?
Yeah, I kind of wish this game was in the main slate because I would love to target Ezekiel Elliott at really low ownership. But that's not the case. So unless you're playing Thursday to Monday or the showdown, then you probably can't get Zeke at low ownership. Do think he's interesting. I know Philly, very good run defense, but I like that price point. And as far as Amari Cooper goes, I mean, he only ran a handful of snaps in the slot last week. It seems like Cole Beasley's kind of man in that role. Throughout his career, Cooper has been much more effective in the slot than he has been on the outside. But luckily for him, this is a game where they're going to be trailing. And as Chop mentioned, Eagles secondary not only injured a bit, but they've been struggling all year. So I like Amari Cooper here. And that's about it for the Cowboys. And on Philly, yeah, I mean, if you're playing the showdown, so you got to take somebody. You could take Wentz. It seems like Josh Adams might be the popular guy in the backfield. I mean, he has looked pretty good. You know, he's kind of the LeGarrette Blount type of running back in a game where they're going to be playing from ahead. So don't mind looking at him. And with these receivers, yeah, I agree. I'm just going to take a wait-and-see approach to see what they do with Golden Tate here.
All right, let's wrap it up here with Monday Night Football. And I said we had a bad game of the Jets and Bills. This one, Giants and 49ers, maybe not as bad as that one, but we've certainly had better Monday night games. But, Derek, we play the hand we're dealt. And the hand we're dealt here is Nick Mullins coming back for another game as the starting quarterback. Are you buying what you saw last week? Where's your interest level there? And the rest of this game to finish it up, Giants and 49ers.
I mean, this is an awful game from a casual fan's perspective, but from DFS, I mean, this has got a lot to like here. We have Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham, and Nick Mullins, our main man here. Looked really good against the Raiders. Granted, it was against the Raiders, but he's going to be cheap in this showdown slate once again. He's already been named the starter for the week. And, yeah, I mean, the Giants defense, they just don't worry me as much as they used to. So, yeah, I like playing the main guys from New York and then bringing it back with a couple guys from San Francisco. George Kittle, going to be a popular target. We've been targeting tight ends against the Giants for years and years. No reason for that to stop now. He had that amazing, one-hand catch last Thursday night. So I think there's some interesting plays here. Interested to see what they do at running back. Breida should be the main guy here after Mostert, broke his arm. One of the grossest injuries of the year so far. So Breida, assuming he's healthy, could be a really nice play in this one.
All right, Chop, wrap us up before the analysis, 49ers and Giants.
49ers Giants. Good game. Solid game here. I don't know. This is the kind of game I actually like on showdown slates. Just ugly, nasty, and people kind of make mistakes and they just want to put the big names in there. But a lot of times in games like this, that's not what pays off. So, looking at this game honestly from a showdown perspective, and I'll get more into this when I do my showdown slate thing with Tony here on Monday. But I could see fading both these quarterbacks in this game. I could see loading up on the two running backs here And let me see here. I'm trying to find somebody in here who might be a good sleeper. We all know you on a showdown slate, you could take Odell and Saquon and these guys and Kittle. You know who? Well, I'll tell you who kind of impressed me a little bit last week without actually getting the results was Richie James. So maybe Richie James ends up being a guy I put on a showdown team that ends up scoring a big touchdown for me.
Yeah, that dude looks explosive. When you get the ball in his hands, he can make things happen. So I like that call a lot. But McMullen certainly looked good. I definitely think he's a better than old Beathard there, but they're going to give him another opportunity to prove it. So should be an interesting game, no doubt. And then looking forward to another showdown video from Chop and Tony. Guys, any final thoughts on the football before we get to everybody's favorite part? User question time. Any final thoughts?
Derek, what you got?
Yeah, nothing for me.
Chop?
I mean, is now the time I need to I need to give you the –
Yeah, let's get the update. I know the people are waiting impatiently on Chop's season-long update. So
everybody loves a good season-long update, don't they, on Twitter?
Yeah.
You love a good guys.
Everybody cares about your fantasy team.
I'm looking up the ESPN G-Town 8 standings right now, and I am sitting at after this past week 1-8. I've lost again. I won the first game. I drafted well, man. It just hasn't panned out. I won the first game.
That's what they all say.
I've won the first game, and I've lost 8 in a row. Like, when I really needed a win this week, and I really needed to try to stay, even if I didn't even have much help, just needed that win. And I had Mixon on bye, I had Beckham on bye, I had Fournette on bye. So it wasn't going to happen even if I wanted it to. So now I'm pretty much – there's 2 choices I have. I can tank and get Todd Gurley next year. But if I do that, it's going to cost me some extra money because whoever finishes in last place has to cover the first place prize, first place buy-in for the next year.
I like that.
So if I tank, I got to pay the guy's buy-in next year. Or I could try to muscle up the energy to finish in second to last and then take the next best guy. It won't be Todd Gurley, though, but I'll save myself a little bit of cash. I don't know what to do right now. But I'm certainly not making the playoffs.
Is this City's kind of keeper league where you can trade for draft picks or anything?
No, this is just redraft.
Start selling. Sell. Yeah, that's interesting. 1-9, Chop. That's so good. Maybe you should stick to DFS, buddy.
Dude,
stick a fork.
Honestly, man, I'm not bullshitting either. I've owned these guys in this league since we've been doing this one since 1998. I was just thinking about that. 1998 was the first year.
Anniversary.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. We were doing it back when, pen and paper, the newspaper the next day, the whole deal. I remember the first league we were in there was the Terrell Davis and Brett Favre. I think it was Antonio Freeman kind of years, way back in the day, something crazy like that. So it's been a while, man. And I've dominated these guys, especially since I started doing DFS. But, man, this year was just not meant to be.
Well, we're pulling for you to get a win here this week. You can't go out with 1 win in year 20.
Oh, damn, now you make me feel bad. This was the anniversary, and I blew it.
We'll be all right. Let's see if we can get you up to 2-9. Let's get to some user questions, and then we'll get out of here. Let's start with Mike at Vikes fan 0078 wants to know, what living athlete would you guys want to trade places with the most and why? Chop.
Oh, man. There's like the choices there's a lot of them. So I guess probably thinking about it real fast, you'll never hear me recommend anything from soccer in my takes because I don't particularly care for it, but I'm going to recommend a soccer one right now. I'd switch places with Ronaldo in a heartbeat. That guy is good looking. He's got the hair, got all the money. He can't even count the amount of money he's got. He's got some upside in his life, so I'd switch with Ronaldo.
Yeah, he's doing fine with the ladies, no doubt. So Chop would be a soccer player. Derek, what do you got?
Dude, that's a good call. That's a really good call. Not only could you get all the ladies and be as famous as you want, but you come to America and you can kind of fly under the radar a little bit since we don't really pay as much attention to soccer as elsewhere. Didn't really put too much thought into this one. I'll just go with Tiger Woods, just because you get to play golf for a living.
Derek, are you looking at the big picture here, man? The big picture is you're stuck with that hairline on Tiger, man.
I already got it. I mean, I'm used to that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I go for Ronaldo. We can upgrade here, man.
Oh,
Yeah, I should have put more thought into that one.
That's all right. Tiger Woods. I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers. I get to be the quarterback of the Packers, get to hang out with Danica Patrick, and have a ton of money. I mean, what's bad about that? Outside of having to deal with Mike McCarthy as your coach. But follow-up question from Mike says, what current sports franchise would be number one hit comedy movie or TV show? Plenty of options here, Chop.
I mean, I guess you would right offhand you would have to think Embiid and the Sixers because Embiid is he's so funny, man. I give him credit for that. He's a funny guy. So I guess I go Sixers because of Embiid.
Derek, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'd go with the Browns. I mean, it's a comedy and a drama at the same time.
Oh yeah, those guys from Hard Knocks were good.
Yeah, we kind of already saw that one. So I would like to take a look inside Buffalo's operation. I think that could be comical, just to watch them draft and evaluate players and things like that. The Buffalo Bills, to me, would be one I want to see. So that's my answer there. All right, would you do anything to make money? DFS, gamble, work, if you won the lottery, Chop?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing this right here because I'm a millionaire doing podcasts, man. This is all fun. This is fun, you know? So of course, if I won the lotto, I would continue to do this right here, these podcasts and these shows. This is entertainment. This is fun. If there was no RotoGrinders, I'd still be playing DFS for sure. I mean, yeah, I would definitely still be doing this no matter how much money I had.
Derek, if you won the lottery, still doing DFS, still doing the DFS OGs pod? You still doing the grind down? What are we doing?
Yeah, definitely still playing DFS. It would probably take on maybe a tenth of the workload for content. Yeah, it can be a little overbearing at times. I love it. Best job ever. But if I won the lottery, yeah, you wouldn't see me doing the grind down.
I had a feeling that was going to get axed from Derek. But yeah, I would still play. I love doing this stuff. Love talking sports. DFS, it's more of a hobby for me than a job, so I would obviously continue doing that. All right, as we record, guys, it's voting day. So George Murray wants to know, amongst the three of us, who is the executive, legislative, and judicial branch of the OG pod? Now, Chop, do you even know what I just said? That's right.
Man, it's been about
let me take you back to
25 years
class here. Okay, so legislative makes the laws.
Okay.
Executive carries out the laws, and the judicial interprets the laws.
Whew. So if it was my opinion, I'm going to say beer is going to be the judicial part of it. I'm going to be the legislative part because, you know, laws and creating laws and coming up with things like that. I just, I feel like I'm pretty good at making people believe just about anything I want them to believe. I can make up facts, pretty good and make up my own stats. So I could do that, and beer could definitely carry it out. So that would leave Derek as the third branch there.
All right, Derek, same to you. Legislative makes the laws, executive carries out the laws, judicial interprets the laws.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'd be too good at carrying out the laws. Don't know if I would trust Chop making up the laws. I mean, so I think I'd have to take over the legislative.
Derek, 1-8 gets into the playoffs.
That's 1-9, sir. 1-9. Yeah.
So I'll take legislative. I'll let Beer execute the laws, and Chop, you can just judge everybody.
Oh, I like that. I don't mind that.
Fake it till you make it. That's what they said. So from Aaron, if you were forced to give up playing DFS, what would your job be? What would you be doing? Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to make money, I have to go back to accounting.
Back to the accounting. Chop, no DFS, no fantasy sports. What's the job?
Man, if they took all this away and I had all that good free time, I would 100% open up a food truck with my wife for sure. No doubt about it. I've done the restaurant thing. I've been in the food business for a while. I got a pretty good grasp on it. I would want to branch out on my own without actually opening up a brick and mortar store. So I would want to do a food truck, man. That would be a blast.
So
what kind of food?
Yeah. What kind of food? That's a great question.
We'd have to
some Tex-Mex, some tacos.
I mean, I'd have to really get down and dirty on it, but maybe I don't know, man. My wife is really good at the Tex-Mex thing. I can do some barbecue. I would probably name it something like I'd have to go like Chops chops. Maybe I
Chop
do.
house.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know what kind of exact food though, but for sure we'd have dessert on there, man. She can make some dessert.
So I'm in the same boat. Not food though. I would open a dance studio. And here, let me listen. Here's why. I have 3 daughters in dance, and they dance in about 4 or 5 different dances each on the old day where you got to go, recital day. So they send the bill home for the costumes for these things. The down payment is $40 an outfit. So multiply that by 15 dances. That's only the down payment on the costumes for the dance. Then you got to finish paying for it. You got to pay all these extra things just to be in the dance studio, plus the classes. These dudes are printing money at this dance studio. I swear, man, that bill is like unbelievable. So that's what I would do. Go back and open up a dance studio, because that you are printing money opening one of them bad boys. It puts a hurting on your boy's wallet, let me tell you what. All right, Ultimate Sports Fan wants to know, back to kind of DFS related, do you guys think it's harder to win GPPs through all the information out there that maybe wasn't out there 3 years ago? Chop.
No, not because of the information. It's harder to win because, number one, the payout structures are terrible in most tournaments these days. And number two, the size of the tournaments has grown from, it's gone 4 or 5, 6, 7 times over the past 3 years. Like, it was much easier to win these tournaments for me back when there was 1,000 people in them. Now there's 100,000 people. Of course, it's going to be a lot more difficult. But as far as the information, not really. It's harder. It's much harder to survive in cash games now because of the information. But GPPs are always going to remain a bit random and a bit lucky anyway.
Derek, same question to you. Harder to win now?
Chop answered it perfectly. It's harder to win just because of the size of the contest. Game theory still definitely plays a big role when it comes to tournaments. It's a lot harder in cash games. I remember, back in the day, a guy would get injured, say in NBA DFS, and his backup would come in and be 20% owned. Nowadays, he's like 90% owned in cash games. So the edge has definitely gotten smaller thanks to the information for cash games.
Yeah, people are getting smarter too. They're creating programs and the computers, and people just have more of a knowledge of the game and how to play and how to be successful. So that makes it harder as well when you're going against smarter people. So great answers there from our boy Aaron Hendricks. If you could be the head coach of any team, who would it be, and what would your first action be as a new coach? Derek.
I don't know what team I'd pick. I'd probably be a manager of a baseball team. Seems like they have it pretty easy. And my first action would be hiring a really smart analytics guy. Maybe I'll hire you, Chop.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. Talk air yards and all that. Even in baseball, could whip that in there. Chop, what team are you taking over? Please tell me it's the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's got to be the answer, right? I mean, like Derek said, the very cushy job would be the baseball manager. You just put out a lineup
Yeah.
and then you just kind of like point to the bullpen once or twice a game, and that's that, But yeah, I'd want to take over the Cowboys, and my first course of action would be to teach Dak Prescott how to run a play action.
That would certainly help. I thought you'd be getting rid of Jerry Jones somehow, but I'm going to take over my Green Bay Packers, and just by doing that, my first move would be Mike McCarthy being fired. I'm the new coach, so that one would work for me. Favorite now defunct DFS site? Derek, I know you love the Draft Street.
Rest in peace.
Absolutely. Chop, I think we talked to this before, but Chop, favorite now defunct DFS site?
Oh, man, I'd probably have to go all the way back to Daily Joust. That place was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, Draft Day was mine. Love that one. Love Draft Street. I mean, there was a lot of going. Daily Joust was fun for sure. Chop, I hate to do this to you because I know the answer already, but Trippy Allen wants to know worst bad beat, betting or daily fantasy. And I believe yours is golf related.
Yeah, I mean, bad beat. I don't know, man. I don't ever consider it a bad beat, but the most stressful thing that ever happened was the Dustin Johnson missed putt from a pretty makeable range, which would have won $1 million instead of 100,000. But that's okay, because I was pretty fortunate just to be in that position anyhow. But I look back on some of the other guys' bad beats and guys losing big money on quarterback kneel downs and getting the negative yardage on that. I've seen Boggs Light lose a big seat like that one night. So those are really bad beats. I don't, I can't. I've been pretty fortunate. I don't want to call that a bad beat.
That Boggs one was brutal. I believe it was Drew Brees took a knee and lost him a qualifier back in the day. That was years ago, but whew, that one was tough. Derek, anyone's come to mind for you?
Yeah, well, Chop, you didn't tell the whole story. Dustin Johnson not only just had to make a putt, he had a 2-putt from 12 feet. I mean,
Missed them both.
Yeah, man, 3-putt from 12 feet. I'd still feel for you on that one. Mine was at the beginning of NBA last season, back before all the stat corrections. I was winning 150K. The night was over. 20 minutes later, got bumped down to like 5th place. So that was pretty bad. Those stat corrections. I don't know why they still have them this year too on DraftKings. They just
those are brutal, man. That's why I just started going to bed and I'll wake up and see how I do in the morning. Less stress. Just show me the money in the morning.
Yeah,
so.
If I would have woke up to 20K, I would have been happy. But losing 130K on the swing is it's kind of weird how you look at it.
Yeah, I don't really have any that stand out. Missed out on a lot of qualifiers by 0.1 and, where you're just super close and something happens at the end. So just things like that. But like you said, Chop, to even be in a position, to have a chance at it, I think that's it. So no real bad beats, things like that for me. Let's finish up here with our boy Chris Jimino. I hope you guys are wrestling fans, but he wants to know if you could give one NFL player a WWE finishing move, who would it be and what finisher would you use? So, Derek, any wrestling in your background?
I'm not a wrestling guy. I don't know anything about it. Haven't watched it since Stone Cold Steve Austin was around. I don't know what his move was, but I'll pick that one.
It's the Stone Cold Stunner. Who you giving it to? You got to give it to a player.
Like an NFL player?
Yeah, where he could just go out in the field and give everybody the Stone Cold Stunner.
I'll give it to Bradley Beal because that guy, I never get that guy right.
There you go. Chop, what do you got? Finishing move for an NFL player.
Oh, you mean I get to go and deliver it on a player?
No, you got to pick a player and give him a finishing move. Or, you could go that route too.
That's what I was thinking.
Who do you want to give a choke slam to, or who do you got in mind?
I mean, let's just go Dustin Johnson.
I guess it is give a finish. Okay, I read the question wrong.
I'll give Dustin Johnson the DDT, man.
Oh, the old DDT. I'm giving an RKO. I'm bringing him up again, Mike McCarthy. And if you don't know what an RKO is, you can get lost in a YouTube wormhole on Randy Orton's RKO. There's a million videos that are hilarious. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check it out. I promise you'll get some laughs out of it. But great question from our boy Chris Jimino, and that'll wrap us up for part 2 of the DFS OGs podcast. Guys, any final thoughts, hot takes here for Week 10? Let's wrap it up and get out of here. Derek, we'll start with you.
Yeah, appreciate all the questions. For those of you that haven't written in yet, get some funny ones for next week. This is our favorite part of the show. Hopefully you guys like listening to it as well. And, good luck in NFL. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't go too tournament heavy any one week. If you play cash games, just continue to play the best plays at each position.
And it's important to balance that bankroll right now. I mean, you got golf, you got hockey, you got basketball, college and pro, football, college and pro. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. So make sure you're balancing that bankroll appropriately. Chop, final thoughts here, and we'll get out of here for Week 10.
I mean, the only thing I would leave you with is some game strategy stuff that I noticed this past week with the shortened slates because of the bye weeks and Monday night, Thursday night football, all that stuff. We got these short slates now, 10 games on a main slate, 11 games on a main slate. These players are really chalky, and the chalk is hitting home. They're hitting hard. The 30%, 35% guys are hitting, and that's just the way it is. You can't really avoid it. Just I say you're okay to play some chalk and find some different guys. Don't run from the chalk, but make sure it's good chalk. So I don't know. There's a difference. That's a whole nother hour-long podcast, but don't run away from the chalk. Just make sure it's good chalk and you can avoid the bad chalk, and that's how you win tournaments.
And you can go over to Roto Academy and get all our thoughts on all that. We did a course before the season started on making selections in cash games and tournaments and talking about chalk and contrarian plays. And so all that is available to you there. I hope you guys enjoyed that class, but hope you enjoyed the podcast. Always love doing the show with you guys, and thank you for all the great questions from everybody out there, and thank you for listening. For my boys, Head Chopper, Notorious, I Am Beer, saying salut. Mike McCarthy, I'm coming for you, baby. That RKO is in your future. We're out of here. We'll see you next week, guys.